Hi, and welcome to Social Baker's Living Room. I'm Max, Customer Program Manager with Social Baker's APAC, and today we'd like to show you some trends in the auto industry. Joining me today is Fairil Yeo. Fairil, you work with a lot of auto brands as VP of Transformation APAC at Lewis.
Yeah.
So what we'd like to do today is show you some of the trends that we have gathered and ask you what you think about it.
Sure, let's do it, man.
The way we did it is that we actually went to our clients and asked them what were some trends that they were seeing into the auto space. And with this in mind, we then took to the data to dig a bit deeper and try to see what was coming out of it. And frankly, some of the results actually surprised me. So I'm really looking forward to hear your thoughts on it. The first one are some emerging topics that we have been seeing into the auto industry. And the first one is not really surprising, is electric. We have been talking about electric, and auto brands have been talking about electrics for a long time now. Connectivity and autonomous are also some topics that are coming up right now. So with these three topics in 2019 alone, around like 5,000 posts were created by the auto brands, but they generated over 23 million interactions, meaning that their audience from the auto brands are actually really engaged with that type of content. Wow. Is that something that you're actually seeing?
Yeah, and I mean, that's interesting, and that's massive, the amount of interactions we're getting, right? And I think it's got to do with the fact that people used to talk about electric like it was a myth, right? And today it's real. Right, and it's everywhere, right? Because I think if you look at electric, it used to be just the BMW i range, right? And now today, you've got like Teslas on the road. You've got like in Singapore, you've got like Blue SG. Over in Hong Kong is really common as well, and it's becoming more and more common. So I think, when it's no longer a myth, and people today also care a lot more about the environment. Electric is becoming, the new normal right now.
Cool, yeah. I hear in a sense that because it's becoming more common and it's becoming part of their life, it makes sense that it's becoming more engaging on social media. It's no longer some kind of like innovation factor. It's actually something that is part of real life.
Yeah.
So following that same line of thought, right, I think we can say that connectivity and connected car or autonomous car could actually be topic that are going to be trending big time in the upcoming months or years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, connectivity, you're talking about like the connected hub between the auto industry or the car models and a person's life. That's very much like becoming, kind of like the Apple ecosystem, right? It used to be, the car was something that you drove, you parked, and then you kind of forget about it. But today, the car, even when you park it and you're at home, it's on your phone, right? So the connectedness and the whole ecosystem between the car brands and the person, that's becoming a lot more closer. Autonomous driving also is becoming a reality. Sure, it's right now kind of like in beta test.
Yeah.
But we've got like, public transport autonomous vehicles that are also being tested, and that's becoming quite real. So I think the more real this topic of, electric cars, connectivity, and autonomous happens, the closer it becomes to the audience.
All right, cool. So that's definitely some topics that we want to keep an eye out for the upcoming months and years. Okay, cool. So next, I wanted to ask you about SUVs actually.
Sure.
So a lot of our clients told us that SUV is going to be and going to become like the next big things. So we actually did a little bit of an exercise here. And if you look at the data that we have here, where you see on the left are the number of posts for auto brands in APAC comparing SUV and sedan content. And on the right, you have the interaction, which is the engagements generated by this same post. And what we can see really clearly is that while 72% of the posts are actually coming from SUV content, it's only generating 38% of the engagement. So what do you think that is? Is that because the audience is not actually interested in SUV content?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think it's sort of historic, right? Because sedan is still, especially in APAC, your normal car vehicle, right? And historically, sedans have always, been the go-to choice. However, in the auto industry, when we're looking at SUVs, they are creating more and more SUVs, right? I mean, like, we were just observing that, you've got like an Aston Martin SUV, you've got the BMW X7, which is a luxury SUV. You've got, the Range Rovers that typically create SUVs, but, they're creating more and more luxurious ones. So I think when we look at the auto industry, that is where the auto trend manufacturing is going towards, which therefore then means, the brands and the agencies are creating more content around that. Then you've got the audience that's coming in and they are still on sort of like a little bit more still sedan, but that's going to pick up quite soon.
Okay, so basically saying that the auto industry is seeing a trend that they're reflecting in their own social media content, yet the audience is still used to react to some specific type of content, like specifically around sedans.
Yeah.
So what we can expect in the upcoming months is actually to seeing more engagement around SUV content because it's going to be pushed more by the automotive brands.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So another thing to keep an eye out for. Next, I would like to talk more specifically about Instagram and how auto brands are actually leveraging Instagram. So what we've been seeing is that Instagram is the number one engagement channel for actually a lot of industries. And if you look at the data here, what we did is a comparison between what's happening worldwide and what's happening in APAC. So what you see on the left is a comparison of the engagement between Instagram and Facebook for auto brands worldwide. And what we can see is that Instagram is generating more engagement than Facebook. But what I find particularly surprising is the gap. How much more Instagram is engaging compared to Facebook for automotive brand. And at the same time, what is quite surprising as well is if you look on the right, is actually what's happening in APAC. And what we can see is that Instagram engagement is not really higher than the engagement generated by Facebook.
Yeah.
So what could be your analysis here? Is it maybe because Instagram doesn't work in APAC for auto brands, or is it because auto brands maybe don't use and don't leverage Instagram in a way to generate engagement?
Right. I mean, I think the analysis is interesting, and I think it's sort of both sides, or three sides: the platform, the audience, and the brands. I mean, I think if you look at the audience, right, and APAC is a very diverse market, right? Generally, I think you'd see in the more developed markets where Instagram is a lot more engaging or being engaged with, right? But I think if you look at the slightly less developed markets, right, they're still a little bit more on Facebook, right, because that is the norm. So I think that's one factor. I think the other factor as well is brands in Asia Pacific, specifically auto brands. A lot of them still look towards Facebook and Instagram as the same platform, when they are indeed actually very different, right? The way someone engages on Instagram or chooses to engage on Instagram and the way someone engages on Facebook, completely different. And I think, brands, and once again, it's quickly changing. But some brands are still cross-publishing, and that's not necessarily the best way. So it's something that's hopefully I think it's going to be a little bit more accurate towards the global trends.
Yeah, so like that, auto brands will actually start leveraging Instagram more at their advantage, right? So, and it's actually true what you've been saying. And we've seen when Instagram started to become a platform in which brands were interacting, they restarted like cross-posting, like just using the same content for Facebook, using it on Instagram. And today we actually know that doesn't work, right? There are two different platforms and need to create content that is relevant for each of them. And I think what you mentioned is something that I've seen with some of the brands that we have worked with in the past, is that they are more relying on Facebook for their communication, and then thus they use the Facebook content on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. The next thing that I want to look at, like keeping into that Facebook and Instagram comparison, right? We wanted to understand which were the most engaging formats for auto brands in APAC. And actually, if you look here on the left, what really surprised me is the most engaging post type for Facebook for auto brands is actually the live video. And it's not only the most engaging, it's the most engaging by far. So is that something you've seen with the brands that you work with? Is that surprising to you?
It's not surprising, and it's definitely something we're seeing that's the norm, right? And I think it goes back to currently, when a lot of auto brands launch new models, they do it in the form of events and showrooms, and that's when you have a very captive audience, right? And then I think beyond that, you're also looking at timeliness of content, which is a very big thing on social, right? The more timely, the more relevant, the more authentic, the higher the interaction. And that's what the live video format there represents.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've seen that giving an opportunity to the audience to interact in a live format has been like performing really well. And something else that we've seen is actually of the most engaging type of posts for Instagram, right? The carousel format is actually the most engaging.
Yeah.
It's actually quite interesting what we were mentioning just before, right? That Instagram and Facebook are two really different platforms, and where like the more like live video format is going to work better on Facebook, actually carousel content is the most engaging. So I think these are some good insights for auto brands to plan their strategy better and leverage the two platforms in the best possible ways.
Yeah, because I think when you're looking at Instagram carousel, that's when brands can really sort of like, break down what a car model really looks like, right? You can go external, you can go internal, and there's always so much to say, right? So I think that's why carousel works so well on Instagram.
Yeah, it's true. That's probably why it works so well for auto brands, more specifically, like you mentioned. There's if there's a new model coming out, the fans are probably really wanted to see how it looks like from different angles. So I can see why it could be an engaging format for that platform specifically. Well, thanks a lot for joining us today. It's definitely been really insightful.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
And we're going to have a lot more to share with you soon. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss our next video, just follow us on our social media channels. And I'll see you soon. See ya.
See you.